When it comes to regular season games for the Chicago Bulls every year, there's not a matchup I look forward to more than the Knicks. There's not a team I care about beating more in a bubble than the Knicks. And you might say, well, what about the Pistons? And, no. The Knicks were different. Because as a kid in the 90s, I actually grew up around Knicks fans. And we used to have back and forth. There really weren't a lot of Pistons fans around. But there certainly were Knicks fans. So anytime the Bulls face the Knicks, it means more. Anytime when the Bulls and the Knicks are both good teams and they face off, it means even that much more. And you have the elements here for some type of a rivalry. It's not the same as it was in the 90s, and you could say that certainly about the NBA in general. It's frankly one of the biggest problems with the league that you have is if you have any rivalries, it's more player A versus player B, but it doesn't always carry a lot of weight because players are moving around all the goddamn time. It is just different. It's those big-time rivalries that are missed. This has some of those elements. Tibbs used to coach the Bulls. Derrick Rose used to be the franchise face of the Bulls, blah, 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 blah. But nonetheless, I was hyped up for this game on Thursday night, no question. And then you saw the news that Kobe White was going to go out of the lineup for a little while due to testing positive for COVID. And some of you are going to snarkily probably respond to say, well, you're probably celebrating about that. You are happy about that. You're a sick bastard, you sick freak. To which I would say, not like this. Not like this. I wish him well and hope he recovers very soon. So that way, Billy Donovan can come to his senses and put Kobe White exactly where he belongs, which is at the end of the goddamn bench, knowing that he is no better than the sixth best guard on this team. We got to stop this. That doesn't mean I wish Kobe White ill. I'm not that bad. It's not like he's a bad person or anything. He's just not a good fit for this Bulls team, is all it is. So here was a chance for the Bulls and Knicks. They've split the season series so far, one game apiece. Now here's matchup number 3. Here's a chance for the Bulls in the Mecca, Madison Square Garden, that overrated piece of crap. I kid. No, not really, but kind of. Because when you think about all the big WWF/E shows that have happened there over the years, yeah, it's a big deal being in that biggest media market, biggest city in the country, the world's most famous arena. Yeah, okay, I got it. Like, MSG is special, even though sometimes I like to troll and say that it's not. But the Bulls certainly treated it like it was a big deal, at least in the first half of this game, because they came out like a fucking machine. They were on fire. They were beating the brakes off the Knicks in the first half. They were up 37-19 after the first quarter. Vucevic off to a really good start again, which was great to see. He had 13 points in the quarter. Zach LaVine had 11 points. I think it was at one point in time they had 24 of the 26 Bulls points in that first quarter. At one point in time they did have a 21-4 run. You saw Taj Gibson get ejected in that first quarter after he was protesting for a couple of moving screen calls. It's just really weird. Like, why would you want to get yourself rung up like that in the first quarter? And I understand competition. I understand you might feel that you're being slighted by the officials, but sometimes I look at some of these players and say, if your strategy was to intentionally get ejected, this was a stupid time and place to do it. If it's just a fact of you can't control your emotions enough, then you're also pretty fucking stupid. This is not the time or place to be getting ejected. The Knicks just in general had a kind of miserable first quarter, only scored 19 points, shot 44% from the field, had a valuable role player like Taj get ejected. It wasn't looking good for him. It didn't get any better in the second quarter. Now, the Bulls didn't put this team away, which is a problem. They were still up 69-51 at the half. They shot 57% from the field and 5 of 11 from 3 and 10 of 10 from the free throw line. So a really, really good shooting first half for them. LaVine had 18. DeRozan had 16. Vucevic had 13. So your big three are playing like a big three in a spot against a good team. That's what you kind of want to see. But, as I alluded to, this is, again, the type of spot, the type of moment when you've got a good team down, you have to go for the jugular. You have to knock them out. This should have been a 25 or 30-point lead at the half. It really should have. The Knicks were playing that poorly. The Bulls were shooting this well from the field. I mean, they scored the most points that they could in the first half that they have in the first half of a game all season. It's not necessarily that their offense needed to be better. Their defense needed to be a little better. But the point I'm getting at here is you can't let the Knicks come back and score 32 in that second quarter. Because this needed to be a 25, 30-point game, the type of game where you put it out of reach entirely for the Knicks, and you could potentially explore resting some of your starters in the fourth quarter. That's what this game on Thursday night should have been. And it totally wasn't. And you know if you give a Tibbs coach team a chance to be in the game, that they will find a way to claw back in. And that's exactly what the hell happened in the second half, especially in this damn third quarter. The Bulls at one point in time had a 23-point lead, and you turn around and the Knicks come out with better energy, better execution on offense, better defense. The Bulls start getting a little sloppy. And while the Bulls have a lead after three quarters, it's down to 6, 89-83. And you're like, oh, God. Like, this is a legit ball game. And as much as you might say, well, maybe the Knicks expended too much energy to try to get back in this game, you also start to wonder, hey, maybe the Bulls are expending too much energy to try and hold off and win this game. And these are the types of games that they can't afford to expend this type of energy on. Because it didn't get a whole lot better in the fourth quarter. You know, it got to a point where the Knicks had a couple of spots where the game was tied. They had a 1-point lead. And they were down 18 at the half. I understand in today's league, it happens a little more frequently because of the three-point shot. For both teams, one team starts hitting some, the other team has a bunch of empty possessions. It doesn't take that much. That's even why 25-point leads, even going into a fourth quarter, are not insurmountable anymore because of the three-point shot. But this was a bad performance in most of the second half for the Bulls. Fortunately, though, they got some really big defensive plays late in that last minute from Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball. Zach LaVine had a couple of nice drives to the hoop late, especially DeMar DeRozan coming up big. He was the real alpha. He was the closer for this team in the fourth quarter. You saw it again. It's the right thing. He's their best player in the clutch, and he's going to have to be the alpha dog in those types of spots and situations. He will get to the hoop. He will get to the mid-range. You don't have to worry about him taking some of the ill-advised, jacked-up bullshit like LaVine does. DeMar DeRozan is going to be more successful based off of the offense that he implements in the fourth quarter. Like, it was enough. So the Bulls win 119-115, and yes, it always feels good to beat the Knicks, especially when the Bulls are good and the Knicks are good. You know, potential playoff preview, perhaps. It certainly felt like it was a playoff environment. It was a really good performance for the big three of the Bulls. DeMar DeRozan led the way with 34. LaVine and Vucevic each had 27, which if you're a Bulls fan, you've been looking for Vucevic to finally play like Vucevic again. The past couple of games he's done so. That's encouraging. That's promising. They had trouble with Julius Randle most of the night. He ended up with 30. Alex Burks and Derrick Rose with 16 each. But the reality is Bulls fans should not feel all that excited about this win. Yes, they beat the Knicks. Yes, it's always nice to do that. Yes, it's nice to beat a good team like this. But this is a game they should have put away in the first half. Or certainly by the midway point of the third quarter. A great team would have done that. This Bulls team is not a great team. They're a lot of fun to watch. They're a pretty good team, no question. They may be a contender in the East, but they're not a championship team right now because of performances like this. You have to know when you have your opponent down, you have to go for the jugular. They didn't, and they were damn lucky to win this game. And when you look at it even more, you're encouraged by, hey, the big three all played really, really well. Yeah, the fact is their big three played really, really well, and they still had to technically hold off the Knicks and win by a whopping total of 4 points, 119-115. That's not that much of a reason to celebrate. Celebrate a win in the NBA, sure. Celebrate a win over a decent team, sure. Celebrate the fact that the Bulls are near the top of the Eastern Conference, sure. But yeah, this game, if anything, exposes some of the flaws of this team. And it's performances like this, especially in that third quarter and then the first half of the fourth quarter, that worry me for this team going forward, and they should worry you too.